Okay. So the definition of perpendicular lines are not just lines that intersect, but they are lines that intersect and form a 90-degree angle. So a picture would be of a 90-degree angle, something like this. Another name for that is a right angle. So let's talk about the slopes then. So when we're just looking at the slopes, we're looking for two things. And it can't just be one of the things, it has to be both in order for the lines to be perpendicular. The first thing is, number one, they are opposites. And opposites means one is positive and the other is negative. One is positive and the other is negative. And the second thing is that they are reciprocal of one another. If you're still not sure if they're opposites and reciprocals, do you remember what I had you do with the slopes up here? We multiplied them, and what did we get? -1. So I'm going to write one more way you can check is that the slopes have a product. What does the word product mean? Multiplication. So slopes have a product of -1. All right. Questions so far? So let's take a look then at the next page and do some examples with finding just the slopes of things that are parallel. So in 1 through 6, the instructions are we're going to find the slope of the line parallel to the line with the given equation. So basically what I have to do is find the slope of the line that I'm given, and what's true if I had a parallel line. They would have what, Abby?
A 90-degree angle? Well, wait, what are we on?
Okay. The question was, if I had the slope of a line that was parallel, what would have to be true about it? So if I found the slope of this line, wouldn't the parallel line have to have the same slope?
Yes.
Okay. So our job in 1 through 6 is to figure out what are the slopes of each of these lines. How would I do it in number 1?
The slope is always the x.
Okay, so isn't this in slope-intercept form? Correct. So what's the slope of y equals -5x minus 3? -5. So what is the slope of the line parallel to that line then? -5. Okay, would you do number 3 and number 5, please? So what's the slope in number 3? Yeah. 3 over 4. So what's the slope of the parallel line then? 3 over 4. And number 5. What's the slope of this line? Yep. So what's the slope of the parallel line going to be? Alright. Are there any others that are in slope-intercept form in this section? No. No. Okay. So let's talk about how to do some of these other ones. So in number 2, can I rewrite it in slope-intercept form?
Yeah.
Yes. Let's get the y alone. What should we do first?
Okay.
Yep. Subtract 3x. So I'm going to write 5y equals negative 3x plus 10. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Y equals negative 3/5 x plus 2. Okay, so now do I know the slope of this line? Yes, it's negative 3/5. So what would be the slope of a line parallel? Negative 3/5. Now keep in mind, we are not writing anything else down because the y-intercepts would have to be different. But the slopes are going to be the same in order for them not to intersect. Okay, let's take a look at number 4. Does anybody remember what kind of line number 4 is?
Vertical, dude.
Yep. Okay. Vertical. And vertical lines go like this, which means their slope is undefined. Well, if the line is vertical, wouldn't the parallel line also have to be vertical? So what would be the slope of another vertical line? Not 0. 0 is like this. Okay? This is undefined slope. So we're going to write undefined. Or no slope. You could say no slope. Because basically what's happening is you're doing rise, the line's not going over. It's got a run of 0. So you have a 0 on the bottom of the fraction. So that's an undefined number. How about number 6? Okay, so horizontal. Horizontal looks like a flat line. So like this, yep. So what's the slope of a horizontal line? 0. So a parallel, all the horizontal lines are going to be parallel to one another, right? So they're all going to have a slope of 0. Okay. So that's parallel. Now you're going to notice, what do you notice about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the next section? They are the same lines. However, now I ask, perpendicular. Go back and look from the previous page. I told you that 2 things had to be true to be perpendicular.
They are opposite.
Slopes are opposite and the product is -1. That means they're reciprocals, opposites and reciprocals. Okay, so the slope of this line we already determined is -5. Yeah, what do you think? Okay, the opposite would be 5. Now make it the reciprocal. You got to do both. What's the reciprocal of 5? 1 over 5. So the perpendicular line would have a slope of positive 1 over 5. I took the opposite and made it positive. I took the reciprocal by flipping it. All right. What about number 3? Riley, what do you think? So it would be a -4/3. All right, how about number 5?
8 over 5.
Positive 8 over 5. Good. Now, instead of doing 2 over again, let's use our work from above. What was the slope of this line from above?
Negative 3 over 5.
Okay, so the slope was negative 3 over 5 of this line. So, what do you think? Positive 5 over 3 would be the slope of the perpendicular. Very good. Okay. What kind of line is x equals 8, Brad? So this slope is undefined. But if this line is vertical, what kind of line would be perpendicular? Horizontal. What kind of slope does a horizontal line have? 0. So the slope of something perpendicular to this vertical line would be 0. 6 is the kind of the reverse of that question. Y equals 2 looks like this. Wouldn't the perpendicular have to be vertical, right? Okay. And so what kind of slope does a vertical line have? Yes, I did say vertical. Vertical lines have an undefined slope. So I'm not asking what the slope of this line is, I'm asking what the slope of a line perpendicular to it is. The slope of y equals 2 is 0, but the perpendicular would be vertical, so that has an undefined slope. Alright, so my last question then for you is, I'm giving you 2 equations at the bottom. I'm going to give a couple minutes to try it. Would you find the slope of both of these lines and then decide, are these 2 lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Would you try it, please? Find the slope of those 2 lines. Are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Alright, so let's start with this line. You should not have had to do any work with this. What's the slope of this line? Negative 2. This one you had to do some work with. So I subtracted 4x from both sides. So then I rewrote 2y equals negative 4x plus 6. Do you see what I did next? Divided by 2. And negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. What do you notice about these slopes? They're the same. So what kind of lines are these? And let's justify our answer. They are parallel. They have the same slope. Okay. Parallel, they have the same slope. Good. Do you have questions so far then? Alright, so keep that out. I'd like you to